You're listening to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Two fans, two generations, all things Star Wars begins now.
All right, well, everybody, I'm Eric Vansel,
And I'm Daryl.
and we are your hosts for the show. And of course, much to my complete surprise, you actually hit me with a Visions thing today.
Yeah, I know.
And of course, your
Hell has
exact
indeed
words were,
started
hey,
to
man,
drop
it's
temperature.
news. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and even though I know it's news, I mean, what was funny to me was I couldn't help but just imagining you there going, let me see if there's anything else going on in Star Wars real quick before,
Yep.
before I commit to this, just see if there's anything else going
Exactly.
on. Then
I
maybe I
have
could do
to.
it. But this is coming out like in 3 weeks or something,
Next,
right?
yeah. What?
August 4th, I think.
August 5th. 5th.
Is it? Well,
Yep.
we talk about it. We're not reporting it, so it's okay that I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. There it is. Exactly.
But I mean, yeah. So this thing is coming up in actually a month from today. Then,
hmm
if it's the 5th. So yeah, I mean, we thought we would do our usual, do a little bit of a trailer reaction, risk a copyright strike. Even though I think I got this. See, the nice thing about it is, as long as I get the trailers from YouTube, I generally don't have a problem. Generally, I could play them and everything's cool. It's when I get stuff from other sources, like that famous time that we kept reacting to all the Family Guy stuff, and they finally were like, "Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
can't do this." But then that other year that we had the holiday special, because we got that from YouTube, we were good. So I think we should be okay. We should be able to react to the trailer again. We'll, do a little bit of a reaction toward the beginning after a little bit of a setup. Of course, it also gives time for people to come on if they hit that notification bell and like, oh, you guys are on. So we'll do that. And then, of course, we'll probably play it again toward the end of the show. Just as kind of a final reaction. So in case people didn't get in on the beginning, they can get on the end. But I mean, I don't know. This is one of those things that I know they were threatening to do. Now, I remember that it was the Ronin who actually, ironically, got his first, it's like expanded thing, right? Like something
Yeah.
beyond. It was a book or something.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's an anthology or a book.
Because Ronaldo
Comic.
used to tell us about that all the time. He loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a book or a comic or anthology of Ronin. Like they just followed that particular character's story arc, and just kept building upon that. Actually, Ronin is actually one of the few, if I'm not mistaken, that actually had a sequel, even in Visions. Like as far as like actually the actual show, Visions is one of the ones that actually got a sequel because it was so beloved. So,
And
then yeah,
as did the Ninth Jedi. So that's why I
right. Then
was,
and now Jedi, right?
and I mean, she got a sequel within the third season. I don't think she got the second season. I'm pretty sure it was this past season that
hmm
she got a sequel. And now, of course, we're gonna get this movie. But I'm really surprised that they didn't they didn't do a limited series based on the Ronin, because I would have thought that because people latched on to him right away, and because he had gotten some sort of a book, that maybe he would be the one that they would actually start out, you know, see, serializing basically. I was kind of surprised, even though the Ninth Jedi, I will say, it does make sense, because that would be the only other character that I think would be worthy of this kind
Yeah, I think the Ninth Jedi maybe. I think it just in totality totality or concept. I think it just reaches more people than the Ronin. Like the entire story is what I'm saying. Like I think
of. No, I know what you
it just
mean.
appeals to probably more to people than Ronin might have. Although Ronin was very good, I just think that Ninth Jedi just kind of has a wider appeal.
Well, I think one of the things that makes the Ninth Jedi, I guess a better candidate for this kind of thing is the fact that the Ronin takes place more in a like a surrealistic type of a universe where they were definitely doing some old world Japanese type of elements in the story, and it,
Hmm.
it was a little bit less traditional Star Wars. Where I think the Ninth Jedi, even
Yeah.
though you do have a lot of those elements as well, it lends itself more to traditional storytelling. Where the Ronin was a little bit of a combination of different influences and kind of
Hmm.
playing with the Star Wars universe a little bit, making it, hey, let's bring in some old world Japanese stuff and let's mix it with Star Wars and let's, you know, almost like a true what I would consider some of the older anime type shows. Whereas the Ninth Jedi, I think, is very much more of a modernized version.
Yeah.
And you could tell, like I said, it makes sense within the proper Star Wars universe that you could actually do something.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is more. It definitely is more of a modern, even the look of it, because Ronan a lot of times is doing the whole black and white type stuff. Um, this is, of course, all in color. Also, this kind of lends more towards the Star Wars lore. Like it's closer to the framework of literal Star Wars.
Hmm.
So, and I think we'll see when so when we see the trailer, I think we're gonna kind of see some things um, that kind of expound upon that.
Yeah, well, I mean, might as well. Now is as good a time as any. We might as well roll this thing and take a look and see what we're in for with this. Because and I'm sure you've already thought of it. We're gonna have to review it when it comes
Review
out.
it.
Do we know how
Uh,
many episodes are gonna be?
no, I don't.
Well, if depending on, and hey, honestly, both of us have been pleasantly surprised by the increasing quality of the last couple of seasons of Visions. Where by the time we got to season 3, we're kind of like, okay, this is still not like our favorite project or anything, but neither one of us really minded all that much doing it. Whereas, the first season, it was like painful for us to get through. Like, oh man, I remember, I remember when they first announced they were going to do a season 2, just the reaction you had because you knew we were going to have to watch it
Man,
and
I was
review it.
so upset.
I know, I
Like,
remember it was awesome. But this one looks like it might be promising, so let's check it out.
The Jedi and the Sith have disappeared. A terrible age of conflict now mires the galaxy in chaos.
We are searching for allies who will stand up with us for the sake of the galaxy. We need Jedi to fight alongside us.
This is already looking
Are
like
you
a
a
more
Jedi?
traditional Star Wars thing.
hmm
My name is Nawam. I will bring order to the chaos that surrounds us.
He reminds me of somebody.
He must be stopped.
Grievous?
They're using the Kyber crystals to make a weapon?
Well, we heard that before.
Yeah, I was gonna say hello, Death Star.
Right, exactly. Almost like Shredder.
Oh yeah, August 5th.
I won't allow you to conquer the galaxy.
This mission will be dangerous.
Things are about to get a little bumpy.
This is a lightsaber forged by Lord Shima.
Ready, that was a better duel than anything in the
Reflects the user's
sequels.
heart.
It's blue. Is Nawam a Jedi?
I'm guessing so.
Jedi fight in the name of justice.
Does the Force actually guide you? How many people have you killed for the sake of justice?
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, look, I got to say it, man. This is probably like if you didn't tell me, well, I guess I probably still would have guessed, but just by the animation style. But did it hit you the same way where it's kind of like an unvisions like type of a thing, right? I mean, this seems to fall in line with any other type of Star Wars thing, and I would even go further and say that this could actually start to spearhead a new beginning for Star Wars. Because obviously it's not dependent at all on anything in the Skywalker saga or anything remotely
Hmm.
close. So this thing actually gets a little bit of traction. They could use that to then maybe spurn a live action thing or a movie or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because even some of the articles are saying that, like, it's officially the end of an era for Star Wars as Disney moves beyond the Skywalker saga. So, and then they're showcasing, they're talking about Starfighter and Ninth Jedi, and so yeah, I mean, this is the direction that a lot of fans want Star Wars to move towards, is getting away from the Skywalker saga, and with this, I think with the animation, I think with it's a good, I think it's a good stepping stone in that direction. You Mandalorian Grogu is probably the last so far that we've seen. Like, it's in the sense of it had Luke in it, so it still couldn't, and Ahsoka, so that still ties to the Skywalker saga, but it doesn't necessarily deal with the Skywalker saga, if that makes sense. However, you do have remnants, uh, much like the Empire. You have remnants of the Skywalker, uh, you know, uh, family, but I think they're so minimal that it's like, okay, we're kind of, you could definitely see that there's a shift happening. But now that we have Starfighter on the way, now that we have um, Mandalorian and Grogu, the movie that had nothing to do with the Skywalkers at all. No Ahsoka, no Luke. Um, we'll see with season 4. We'll see what that holds, if they completely, like, now just move on, and we may never see them again. Maybe that was the last we got of them, was in season 2. Um, and then now you have the Ninth Jedi. Maybe this is just the phase out of that, and now we're starting to move into the new era.
Well, I mean, I think the tricky part's going to be too, like, what I think is great about this is it actually exists so outside because it's a Visions project. We don't even know what era this is. I mean, it's like they don't
Yeah.
really. Did they say? Or are you agreeing with
Well,
me?
no. Well,
I thought maybe
no.
you're
I'm
like,
agreeing with you.
all right, absolutely. All right, so Ted's got a couple here. He had started out the show. I just neglected to put it on. He's like, very happy. A new episode to talk about, a new show that does actually look pretty good. And then, of course, after the trailer thing, he pops in and says, I'm all in. You know, I have to agree. I mean, this is like this is a really exciting looking project because one of the complaints that we always had about Visions, even though we understood that it was a show that was dealing a little bit in a more surrealistic vibe, it was outside of any of the timelines. Sometimes it almost ventured into like a what if territory. It was basically a bunch of anime studios playing with the concepts of Star Wars and essentially reinventing it through their own lens. But one of the things that I think is interesting that we had always picked on wasn't so much that aspect. It was the fact that we never got a lot of context. We were just dropped into sometimes like what seemed like an acid trip. And
Yeah.
you got all these like just breathtaking visuals, but there was no thread to connect any of the scenes that you were watching or sometimes they would have like a definitive story, but you wouldn't have any context, and it took forever to like. You spent most of the episode that was only like 20 minutes, just trying to figure out,
Hmm.
just to basically get your bearings, right? But this seems like it's going to be a lot more coherent, and I think the reason for that is because Vision's at its core, and sometimes it's easy to forget this, even though it's obvious. It's an anthology, right? You have different studios that
Right.
are creating different projects, and they could go anywhere. And each episode basically stands as its own thing. Where this time we're getting a series, but it is more in line with the animated series that we've gotten before, where there's a thread running. We're dealing with one world here. We're dealing with one character. We're dealing with one story arc that's going to take place among multiple episodes. So this is going to be the first time that we're going to get to see Visions get to dig a little deeper within its own stylistic choices with its story and all that. So, I mean, I think that it's going to be pretty exciting to see where they go with this.
Yeah. Um, to answer your, I agree. To answer your initial question, Eric, you asked how many episodes this is going to be. It's going to be 8.
Okay, so that's basically in line with Visions. Like the
Yeah.
normal thing, I think, right? That was
So
always 8.
yeah, yeah, yep.
All right, well,
Now, go ahead.
Grandmaster counters our point mildly here.
Okay.
Unsurprising. He says new era. This is still Kathleen's era. The phony new era starts after Starfighter ends its theatrical run. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the business part of it. We're not talking about who's in charge. We're not talking about anything. We're actually strictly focusing in universe this time. Where new era meaning that it's not beholden to the Skywalker saga.
Mhm.
Whereas almost all the projects have basically been pretty much either smack in the middle of the Skywalker saga or have at least been beholden to it. These exist completely outside of it, as does Starfighter. I mean, granted, sure, they can, because isn't Starfighter the one that takes place after the sequels?
Yes.
So, I mean, could they mention or, name drop Rey or somebody like that? Sure, but that's the first time. Grandmaster goes on to say Filoni doesn't like Visions. He's still very upset that he wasn't involved in it. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because
I can see
again,
why.
sure. But I mean, I guess maybe except for an executive producer role, for continuity's sake, it would destroy the whole point. The whole point was to let these anime studios run wild using Star Wars, right? Like here's
Hmm.
Star Wars universe. Go and do your own anime version of it. It's kind of like an
Yeah. You probably
experiment
just,
that way.
all right. You probably just can't include, the traditional characters. Like you can't bring in Yoda, Luke, Han, Leia, and all them because that's, you can make your own characters, but you can't take existing characters. Excuse me, existing characters.
Right, which is why it actually further strengthens what they were trying to do with this, which is to create something that's completely independent. They're basically using the elements of the Star Wars universe. They're using the character archetypes without using specific characters. And you still get Jedi, you still get Sith, but you get something different. And that's where we're going with this. When we say it's a new era, again, I mean, we don't who cares about the whole business thing. I mean, as a fan, I mean, we do because we've done a lot of shows on it. But I mean,
Hmm.
ultimately it's and of course it very much affects the quality of the stories. Don't get me wrong. It's like, you know, it would be nice because a lot of people did mistakenly think that as soon as Kathleen Kennedy, quote unquote, exited, we know her influence is still very much there. We know that the projects that she began still need to run out. It actually kind of reminds me of um, when Kevin Feige basically was like, yeah, we're not going to do the woke stuff in Marvel anymore. And then, of course, some projects came out, and people were like, well, "Wait a second! I thought you said you weren't going to do that." And it's like, "Well, wait, hold on." There were still a lot of projects that were in production before he made that
Before,
announcement, right?
right.
So, I mean, those basically have to be exhausted and run their course, and then the stuff moving forward. Well, okay, the stuff moving forward we might not see for another 3 years or something. And it's a
Hmm.
very similar thing with Star Wars. The effect of Kathleen Kennedy not being there, or at least not having too much of a stamp on the creative stuff, isn't going to be felt for a long time, because there's still quite a few projects that still have that stamp on it. But all that said, that's irrelevant here, because again, Visions exists outside of any of that in universe. So what we're talking about when it comes to a new era is that it's not part of the Skywalker saga. This is going to be one of the first tests of how that's going to be received. And it could be something that if enough fans actually start to go, hey, this is kind of, cool, we like this, they could start to seed other projects, not even necessarily based on it, but just like, hey, we don't need the Skywalker saga anymore. Now, again, I know you and I have had a lot of discussions on the show about this, where I would like to see a balance of both, because I still think there's a lot of really great stories you can mine in the Skywalker saga that do not deserve to be abandoned simply because people have gotten lazy and they just, write very lazy projects, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, I also do get very excited about, hey, we could move past this. There's a lot of stories that you could tell that can go beyond it. And of course, Starfighter is probably the first live action thing that we're going to get that exists outside the Skywalker saga. But I hold a final, like, I'm not trying to say that with any kind of authority, because I don't know yet, right? I mean, we
Hmm.
don't know. We know very basic things. We know a few things, of course, the Grandmaster shared in the Discord, but we don't really know a lot. And so, who knows?
Yeah. I want to read something. There's an article, and it says, beautifully animated by the production I.G. Ghost in the Shell Psychopaths Limited anime continues Kara's story following both original volume 1 episode and its volume 3 follow up, Child of Hope, making it the first Vision story to blossom into a full television series. The Ninth Jedi looks to add weight to the story through menacing new villains, nail biting lightsaber bouts, and massive set pieces like uh, massive black hole that looks straight out of Interstellar. Kameyama returns as the supervising director. Their work on acclaimed anime projects like Ghost in the Shell Standalone and Bleach, A Thousand Year Blood War should give Star Wars fan a breath of fresh air with a full series of interesting perspectives on a beloved galaxy far, far away. To say they are fans of a Lucasfilm franchise would be an understatement. Uh, so while Visions has thrived as an anthology, The Ninth Jedi always felt different. Um, Kameyama didn't simply to self-contained adventure, but built an entire Star Wars that begged for exploration. Set long after the Skywalker saga, the story imagines a galaxy where Jedi have faded into myth. Sabers are almost in myth, may represent the last hope for restoring balance. The new trailer suggests um, that their ambitions hasn't changed, expanding beyond the intimate scope of original shorts. The series is poised to further explore this distant future while leaning into the striking blend of samurai cinema, high concept science fiction, and kinetic action that made The Ninth Jedi one of Vision's defining chapters. Um, so, at the forefront of Star Wars, Visions presents The Ninth Jedi in a nature is the nature of what it means to be a Jedi or Sith, seeking to dive deeper, even further into the mystical unknowns of the Force. So, um, I think this show, because we kind of heard things in the trailer where they're kind of talking about. It seems like they were talking about deeper things regarding the Force,
Oh yeah.
as far as you know, and I think that's really a perfect direction of this if they handle it properly. Because the Force is one of those things, and we've talked about this before. Because it is such a mystery, there is the challenge of adding more depth to that and keeping its mystery. But then sometimes, you have people who are trying to explain too much of it, and it loses its mystery. And so you kind of have that, no pun intended, balance
Well,
that
here's
you're
what's
always
interesting about
fighting
even
against.
that point, because that's why Visions is the perfect project to do this, because it's
Hmm.
outside of canon, right? So
Right.
it basically, if they keep these little Visions, mini series things going, where they take, like, let's say they do something on the Ronin next, right? And then they do something,
Hmm.
like, if they keep expanding, they could actually have the Visions universe as its own sub universe in Star Wars, where they could actually explore all this stuff without interrupting the continuity of canon, right? So you could basically, you don't necessarily have to be too careful about over explaining or under explaining the Force, because that was one of the problems that I always had, right? I mean, I really like
Hmm.
Obi-Wan's whole thing from episode 4. Like, basically all the stuff they said about the Force in the original trilogy gave you the parameters that you needed to do pretty much whatever you wanted. And I've always been the guy that said, look, I don't really think we need to go any further with this. Now, if you want to explore some of the effects, like, I never really had an issue with, hey, the reason why, Sith lightsabers are red, or because, basically they bleed the kyber crystal and that's what turns it red. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really over explain. You're just basically, okay, this is a mechanism by how they get red lightsaber. You know what I mean? It's like they're not trying to go into the, like, the minutia of
Other
everything that's
science
of the
or
Force. Or, yeah, exactly. Whereas when you have something like the midi chlorians, or when Lucas is going to have these, like, little nano creatures and all that, I'm like, okay, man, I really think that we got what we needed, knowledge of the Force, by the, from the original trilogy. If you want to come up with, like, some new Force power, which the expanded universe did, and I think they did
hmm
correctly. The problem that I had with, not even so much the prequels, but the sequels, and this is a key differentiation. The sequels started to try to come up with new stuff where you would have to really get into explanation, right? Like, you would, like, the whole
hmm
dyad thing, for instance,
hmm
where you got, like, Kylo, and he's, like, miles and miles away, and he's, like, grabbing crap off his shelf in his ship,
Right.
because Rey's there, and they're, like, handing each other objects and stuff. It's like, okay, hold on.
Right.
This this is a little, like, you all need to explain this, right?
Right.
Because,
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that power. I don't have a problem with the whole diet and the force thing. I don't have a problem with it conceptually. I have a problem with you not explaining it.
right. And
That was just my issue because
but
my thing is
that's,
like if they would have found some scroll or something that explained like like Kylo was hunting for some kyber crystal or not kyber crystal, what do they call those things, holocrons. If he was like looking for a holocron or something that was explaining a great power of the force that you had to achieve or that you could achieve, and then he stumbles upon this whole dyad thing and he's like, oh, what's this? Oh, you can have a connection with another person in the forest where you guys can, you know, basically share power and do stuff. And okay, fine. Again, if it's explained within the movie, then it's okay. I'm with you. Now when we see you, grabbing beads and passing helmets and doing all kind of stuff, through the force, and seeing people with their shirts off, and like, okay, at least now it has context. It makes sense now because you've explained, or you're explaining as you're going along, how this thing works. But just to just drop it in, oh, it's a dyad thing, and then you just keep going. What does that mean? you know, that was my issue with
Yeah,
it.
and all the characters suddenly know. And look, I can understand that in a world as vast as the Star Wars universe, you can't explore every single little element of it
No,
in a movie, right? So you have to take for granted that the characters are going to know things about this world that the audience doesn't.
all right,
But you got to be a little discerning, though. I mean, like little things I get, but something like that's a pretty big bomb to drop, especially when you have all this other material. This is where I think the expanded universe did a much better job at coming up with new force powers and giving you the proper context for them to where they were believable. Because again, you like even the stuff that was a little crazy, right? Like when Luke started guiding a lightsaber through some ship and it was like
yeah,
doing stuff. But the context for that is Luke had reached a practical godlike ability in the
hmm,
Force. Like he was his Grandmaster Supreme or something. And so you can always connect that back to him. It's like, okay, well, if Luke is doing it, okay, you know, fine. And things were a little bit more linear. And this is why I always say that you shouldn't go beyond the original trilogy's explanation, because the original trilogy's explanation was broad enough to allow you to bring in a plethora of different abilities, knowledge, stuff like that, without it screwing with any canon or continuity or anything like that. But it was also somewhat specific enough to give you the parameters by which the Force operates. I mean, it was actually brilliant. And of course, Lucas even thought of some of this because I remember an interview that he did where, they were kind of like, well, how come, there's all these powers, like they didn't use them in the original trilogy? Now, of course, we all know it's because he wrote all this stuff later, but Lucas
all
was
right,
like, well, I kind of built that in because he had the idea for episodes 1 through 3 early on. And he was like, the idea is like, look, I mean, what Jedi? There's nobody to teach anybody any of this stuff anymore. And so, since we're looking at everything through like Luke, where's he going to learn it from? And that's the reason why everybody hated Rey so much, is because, she's just figuring out, like, stumbling into this stuff. Almost like, hey, I think I'm going to try the Jedi mind trick. And,
oh my god, that's the worst for
like,
me.
it just, like, all this
I can
stuff.
see her accidentally stumbling across Force lightning, but the Jedi mind trick thing, yeah,
Well,
that
that's
really
when they actually
irritated me.
did the whole Palpatine connection. The lightning thing made sense because she was so desperate and so fearful and angry that Chewbacca, was taken.
Captured,
Right.
yeah,
That it actually makes sense that in her straining to do something, she accidentally unleashes lightning.
exactly.
With the Palpatine connection, it's like, yeah, that part actually made sense, and that's a good example of them
Hmm,
giving you some context. But all the crap that she was doing in episode 7,
exactly.
yeah, man, nobody's really buying that. It was just lazy writing. It's just like, okay, you guys just want to do this, and so you're doing it. And, we're just supposed to be along for the ride. Now, Ted says to make up a new word as a hand wave to the plot device is disrespectful to the core audience, the customer. Yeah, I mean, again, if they had taken the whole conceptual elements of the dyad and sewn them throughout the sequels, like they didn't even have to
Hmm,
try to like drop a big bomb about it. If they had just, maybe given you a little bit of nuggets, very similar to what they did with a lot of Force stuff in the original trilogy. You know, we started to see little elements and little things. So by the time Luke got to Return of the Jedi, everything felt natural and organic, and like a
Well, I'll give you even a good one. If you go back to Phantom Menace, when Anakin was standing before the council and he was being tested, and then it's like, we encountered it. He's like, we encountered the virgins in the Force, or virgins, you say. And if you'd have just left it at that, you'd have been like, okay, what the heck is he talking about? But then you had Mace Windu sit there. He was like, you speak of the prophecy of the one that will bring balance to the Force. See,
Right.
it explains it right then and there. In that moment, here's this term.
in a natural
what does it
way,
mean?
mind you.
In a natural way, they're meeting, and it's like, oh, more to say, have you? Yes, we encountered the virgins in the Force. Okay, heck is the virgins. Oh, you mean this? Yes. Okay, well, bring him before us so we can, like, it's not hard. It's like, okay, here's a term, we define it, yay, everyone's happy, and we move on. But you can't just drop this thing like, the Yoda's like, a virgin, you say. He's all excited, and then you cut to the next scene and you never talk about it again. Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, don't Maz Kanata us.
Exactly.
Like, hey,
that's a story for another day.
Yeah, it's a story for another day. It's like, well, wait, when's the other day? Like, I'm thinking we're gonna get it in episode 8 or something.
Right.
It's like, hold on, time out.
Well, at least later on in 7, but
something. Because that's a pretty important plot point too. That's the
Exactly.
other problem I had with it. It's like, no, you need to explain how you have this. And don't tell me it's a story for another day. Today is the day.
Today is the day.
I mean, granted, sure. You were in the middle of getting practically invaded by a bunch of stormtroopers and they were destroying, like, your little area. Okay, fine, I get that. But, maybe when you get back on the Falcon or something, maybe you have another little tete-a-tete here and, give us a little information about why you have this thing. Stuff like that just drives me nuts. And the nice thing, though, is that any exploration that they do in Visions related stuff, they're not necessarily beholden to follow that in any of the proper canon material. Which is why, like I said before, it's the perfect projects by which you can explore all this stuff. And, basically get it all out of your system. Because there's a couple of things in there that were kind of cool. Like the whole, where the villain was basically, questioning, are you sure you're doing this for the reasons you think? I mean, it's an age-old thing that they brought up. It's nothing new, really. But, I mean, it's kind of a nice thing to fit into this. Because it's never been, even though it's not technically new, it hasn't been explored quite this literally yet.
Yeah, I mean, even with the thing when she's like, oh, it turned blue. And they're talking about like, okay, the lightsaber like is in your heart.
Yeah, why does this villain have a blue lightsaber instead of a red one? It's like,
yeah, and then so there's, and we all, most of us kind of know, like when a youngling is picking out their kyber crystal, it's unique to them. We learned that from Clone Wars: The Gathering, that it's not just like you can't just walk into a cave that's filled with kyber and just, all right, there's one, grab it, and it's like, no, there's one it calls to you, it's unique to you because it's a bonding thing. Okay, so not only does it bond with you, but there's like a color associated with it because it means something. So there's different colors like
well, the yellow is for the Guardians.
The Guardians, the green is like for valor or people who are very strong in the Force. Blue is like for selflessness and all that type of stuff. So you have all these different things. Of course, purple is the mix between light and dark. So that's, you get that. Of course, when you get a red one, it's not really red, but you bleed it to the point that it turns red. Then you can also have white, just like Ahsoka's, where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm in, I don't choose a side. I'm pure in my thoughts and I want to do good, but it's like I'm not pulled to a side. So, I mean, there's different things like that. Again, explaining certain things, like you said, the mechanisms where you're not, necessarily talking about the minutia of the force, but this is the kind of the side effects of having the force and kind of what it does.
Yep. So Anakin Skywalker, Godzilla, 1974. That's a lot.
Wow,
Says,
that's
hello
a
there.
that's a lot.
That's a lot, but hey,
Yeah.
all good,
Hey,
right?
what's going on? Can you
Yeah,
imagine Godzilla that's with his lightsaber? That's crazy. Like he wasn't terrifying enough.
I was gonna say, I don't know if he necessarily needs one. I was, as you know, they're coming out with the sequel to Godzilla Minus One. Still,
Are
hands
they?
down, yeah. And I mean, it's really gonna be interesting to me because that Minus One was like the best. I mean, that was just such a just phenomenal, phenomenal movie. I mean, I can't even say enough about it. So I'm really looking forward to that. But needless to say, it looked pretty hopeless there for a while. So you give Godzilla a lightsaber, I think you have to be a pretty big one too.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like now we're getting off on this other thing.
I
But,
know, right?
but yeah, I mean, I think that, and this is what I like about when they do explore stuff like this, because again, that whole thing you were talking about where they're, bonding with their kyber crystals and all that, that comes from the Clone Wars, right? Those Clone Wars. That wasn't
Hmm.
Rebels, was it?
Nope, Clone Wars.
So basically, again, this is just explaining some of the stuff. It's not violating any of the framework of anything that we've learned about the Force. It's just it's just basically filling in gaps. It's not redefining. That's the problem that I have. It's the redefining. Hey, it's not this mystical thing anymore. Now it's like a blood test. I mean, when you start, and then, oh, now we're going to do nano creatures. And keep in mind, both of these were Lucas's ideas. That's the reason why I always caution people when they say, oh man, Disney's like just destroying this thing. We got to get Lucas back. It's like, well, okay, slow down. Make sure that you understand what you're asking. Because not
Hmm.
all of Lucas's ideas are really. The problem is the ideas he has for his own creation are different from what the fan base wants. We want a little bit more straightforward storytelling within this universe. And don't forget, too, that during the original trilogy, Lucas had a lot of people that were reining him in, that were telling him, no, dude, this sucks. Don't do that. That he respected. Whereas when the
Hmm.
prequels hit, Lucas had like pretty much all control. He was directing the stuff himself. Like it's basically what happens when you lose that balance. Again, there's that balance thing, right? The
Hmm.
original
Yep.
trilogy, you had balance. I mean, Lucas oversaw a bunch of stuff, but even The Empire Strikes Back, it was Irvin Kershner that was doing a lot of the day-to-day decision making. And then he
Hmm.
and, the actors would work stuff out. Like
Yeah,
the
they
original
collaborated.
scripted thing for Han Solo was when Leia said, I love you. He was supposed to say, I love you too. And Harrison Ford went to Irvin Kershner. It was just like, I don't really think he would say that. And so he improvised the I know thing. And that ended up being this thing. That had nothing to do with George Lucas.
Hmm.
In fact, had George Lucas been there, he probably would have insisted to do it the way it was written. Kind of Michael Jackson, right? I want it how I wrote
I
it.
wonder how I wrote it.
So, so I mean, you have to be careful about things like that. That, sometimes, even though he is the guy that arguably created all this stuff with a lot of help. I mean, look, Ralph McQuarrie did a lot of the concept designs for a lot of the characters. I mean, it's not like Lucas just came up with all of this. But I mean, the core is
Right. He had talented people around him to help
yes,
guide him and help
yes.
craft this stuff. It wasn't just
But
all
then
out of his head. It was just.
exactly. But of course, the flip side of that is that okay, not in love with the whole little nano creatures that he was going to do for his version of 7, 8, and 9. On the other hand, making Maul the villain, Darth Talon, you know, Kira being the hero, which is basically kind of like Rey. You know, I mean, there was a lot of cool elements to what he wanted to do too. It just
Yeah.
depends on whether he would have insisted on doing it all himself. In which case, I would say no. Let's find somebody else to do this. Or if he was like, "Hey, let's do this more in the spirit of the original trilogy," and I'll bring some people, on board. Okay, cool. That would be fine. But
It's definitely fine.
but I mean, essentially though, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, and a lot of stuff that has been explored, at least in this trailer, is not necessarily things that disrupt our current understanding of the Force. It's more like a deepening of what we already know,
Right.
I think. And that's what makes it exciting.
Well, yeah, let's try this. Yeah, only got a few more minutes, so I guess we can roll it again for anyone who hasn't seen it yet.
We could say it for all the late people.
Yeah.
So for all those people who didn't hit the notification bell when they subscribed and just, found that we were on. Yeah, we could roll this. Let's roll it.
The Jedi and the Sith have disappeared. A terrible age of conflict now mires the galaxy in chaos.
We are searching for allies who will stand up with us for the sake of the galaxy. We need Jedi to fight alongside us.
Are you a Jedi?
My name is Nawam. I will bring order to the chaos that surrounds us.
He must be stopped.
They're using the Kyber crystals to make a weapon?
Gotta wonder what that weapon's gonna
Fire.
be. It's not gonna rip off the Death Star, you know that.
I won't allow you to conquer the galaxy.
That was like something from Star Trek.
This mission
Yeah,
will be
I know.
dangerous. Things are about to get a little bumpy.
That was a Star Trek reference, I guess, huh?
This is a lightsaber forged by Lord Zima. It reflects the user's heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's blue. Is Nawam a Jedi?
The Jedi fight in the name of justice.
Does the Force actually guide you? How many people have you killed for the sake of justice?
Yeah, so I mean, again, it doesn't even sound like they're really exploring the Force itself that much as it is like the people that are wielding it. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
sort of like what are their intent? It's like, okay, you see this guy's a villain, but this lightsaber that changes according to the person's heart. It's like it's blue. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, are you really that bad? Maybe maybe we see you as a villain, but maybe your intent isn't. And then of course,
Or maybe that clip is not meant for that particular scene.
yeah, well, that's true. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that Star Wars Project has misled us into
Mhm.
thinking something differently. All right.
Now,
Well, we
what I
know.
go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say we know that it's 8 episodes, so we know that we're gonna have. They didn't actually say whenever you found that out. Did they say whether they were gonna do? You know, how a lot of times they'll do like the first 2, or are they gonna drop this all at once like they did the other Visions?
That has not been announced yet. Not that I've seen.
Well, because I mean, regardless, we're still gonna review it 1 episode at a time.
Mhm.
I mean, unless they drop, like if they do a week-to-week thing, which they might, only because this is like it's more of a serialized, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
an anthology.
Right. It's more like
So
I'll
they
have to go
drop
with them all series.
right. So if they drop like the first couple episodes or whatever, obviously we would whatever they drop that week is what we're going to review. But again, I think that whatever they do, even if they drop it all at once, it's unlikely, but if they do, we'll still do it one at a time in that case. It should be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing what they come up with and the story that they're really trying to tell. Like I said, I don't have a problem with the animation at all.
No.
So, that's one worry I don't have. So, as
No, I
long
mean,
as
the
the
one thing that,
story and everything else works out,
right. Well, and as long as there's context and all that. I mean, that, because the one
that's what I
thing,
mean. Yeah.
I mean, right from the very beginning, neither one of us really ever had any issues with the animation. I mean, the one thing that we always gave Visions credit for was stunning animation. I mean, I think the most critical we've ever been about that is maybe they did something in a particular style that we didn't like.
Hmm.
But I mean, it was brilliantly done in that style. It was just, a style that we're like,
Yeah, just then we just didn't agree
yeah,
with.
we
Yeah.
just don't like that style of animation. It had nothing to do with their ability to do it. So, yeah, I think that this definitely has some traction. I think there's a little bit of hope. I'm actually, for the first time, I honestly say I'm looking forward to a Visions project. Who knew? I guess I guess anything is possible. Look, I mean, this is one of those things that, never really ceases to amaze me. Now, Grandmaster actually gives us a little insight. He says it's going to be all at once. So they are going to drop all the
Mm.
episodes at one time, which is good. Um Again, we will just review it one at a time or whatever makes sense. Remember the one time it was the funniest thing in the world. I think it was when season 2 was coming up because it was still season 1 and we hated the thing. Because remember, season 2
Hmm.
is when we actually started going, hey, this is kind of cool. Like there's a few episodes, but we didn't really hate anything except for that first episode.
Yeah.
After that, it was cool. But I remember before season 2 came out, he ended up texting me and like, hey, I think we could just, I don't know, just review all the episodes at once. I
Yeah.
gotta
Let's
gotta
get it.
just do like a
Let's get
one
this
and
over
done,
with.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, let's get
It's
it
like,
over with.
I don't care if it's a
rip the
4-hour show, but could we just, do the,
rip the band rip the
yep,
band-aid
rip the
off, man.
band-aid right off, man. Let's just do it all at once. And in retrospect, I'm glad that we didn't. Although,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly, people tend to tune out. I know it's weird. It's like, I even did a poll once, like, hey, do you guys even care if we review the show? Because on one hand, and we did it honestly as a favor to all of our hardcore viewers, because honestly, we lose viewers when we review that show. Like we're regularly down noticeably on those episodes. And the problem
After a while.
is it's always like like an 8-week commitment, right? So it's like 2 months of shows that people don't watch. And if all you're doing, they kind of come back and they're like, Visions again, then they're going to unsubscribe.
Mhm.
But the way I see it, it's like, you know what? I mean, a lot of you guys are watching us week to week. You're invested. You're chatting on the Discord. It's like, look, we'll do it for you guys. But this, I think, actually is not going to be a problem. I think, and I actually don't anticipate that much of a drop. Let me get this from Grandmaster says D23 will be on August 14th through 16th. 2 announcements will be made. They're releasing Visions all at once because they have to do 2 weeks prior to D23. Okay. 2 announcements will be made. I suppose you want to give us a little hint as to what the 2 announcements could be by any.
Right.
Now we're lucky we get what we get. Yeah. So I mean, I think that this is something again that we can look forward to, and I think this is something that people will like. So I'm hopeful. And as Forrest Gump says, that's all I have to say about that. All right.
Yep.
I think that's going to do it. I'm sure somebody will chat in as I'm closing, but I think we haven't really decided anything that we're doing next week, right?
No, but this conversation today does kind of have given me some thoughts. So,
Ooh, ideas. All right.
Yep.
Well, we'll pull a Grandmaster on you. We have an announcement on what next week's show is going to be. We're not going to tell you right away. You're just going to have to wait and see. But whatever it is, it'll probably be good. Usually our shows are good. And it'll definitely be Star Wars related.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So there's that. So hopefully Visions is cool. It comes out a month from today. As soon as it comes out, we'll start reviewing it. We'll do all 8 episodes, and hopefully you guys are on board and we'll stick around for that. It's always fun. Whether the show's good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's going to be fun either way. Sometimes it's actually more fun if it is bad because our comedy gets a lot better in that. All right. With that said, we will see you guys next week. I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter @HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.